sometimes we can't control everything. Sometimes our emotions or whatever's happening in life is too heavy for us to bear, and we have to ask for help, right?
Yeah.
And we've already discussed that sometimes asking for help is really difficult, and that's a struggle. So I think it's important that we also talk about helping yourself, and sometimes that means like getting a professional, right? So yeah, I know we've all kind of worked with therapists and life coaches, so I thought it's nice to kind of talk about those experiences.
I haven't worked with a therapist.
You haven't
never?
before.
I've never had therapy. I had therapy for a different situation, not like daily life therapy, but once I was assaulted on the bike and I needed to have like post-traumatic therapy.
Yeah.
Well, it's
And
therapy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was, but it wasn't like, sometimes it's also good to have like a recurring schedule with a therapist. I've never had
Yeah.
that. And this was something that was kind of like put upon me to check my mental state.
But how many times you went?
I think it was 2 times or 3 times because I was okay. After he was like, okay, he gave me like a tool, like, this alarm when you are scared, you can turn it on, but I don't use it. I was really scared after it happened for a long time,
understandably.
for a couple of months. But no, I'm good. I didn't really need the therapy. It was nice for him to check in, and it was nice to chat with someone to see, where you are in your mental well-being. But yeah, that was only 2 times or 3 times, but I've never had therapy. I often feel like I'm the therapist for my friends in terms of like really listening and giving advice. Got that from my mama. She has great advice. But yeah, no, I haven't had like a normal therapy experience.
Even though we might feel or think that we don't need therapy because you have your friends or you just feel really secure, I think it's good for everyone. Just even if it's once a month, because you can talk to someone that's neutral.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And also studied for being a therapist.
For sure,
So
yeah.
they could give you a different kind of advice. They could discover parts of you that your mom or your friend or your sister won't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would recommend it to anyone.
And I
Go
think
to
that's
therapy.
important because also it's like you don't have to see them, sometimes you unload there. We all have all been that friend, and we've all had that friend that just unloads way too much onto you, and sometimes it's like, whoa, this is a lot, but I'm also dealing with my own stuff.
you need to process it.
I'm sure therapists have therapists, but
Oh, yeah.
it's nice that you can go enter a space where you're like, okay, this is a safe space and I can share, and I'm not going to see you at church or at the grocery store or in class. It's like, this is just our private conversation, and it's not someone that I'm also trying to build an outside relationship with. I don't have to
And
work
ego,
with them.
there's no ego. Your therapist is your therapist. It's a neutral party.
Yeah.
So the way they respond to your problems or whatever, it's like with friends, it could also be ego built,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we all have our own personalities, and someone may feel attacked, or I don't know.
There's always
It's-
something.
Yeah.
There's other
Doesn't
layers
always
when
have
it's
to be that way,
friends.
but there's often maybe some form of boundary
Yeah.
where you're not going to maybe completely be open and
But I
honest.
also think that for every issue and every life phase, there are so many ways of therapy, so many different forms.
Yeah.
And I think for every phase you're in, a different kind of therapy is needed. When I got into depression and my burnout, my girl Willa hooked me up. Big shout out forever.
Shout out,
Thankful.
Willa.
Yeah, she hooked me up with a holistic life coach. And that really helped me to get grounded, because that's what I needed in that moment, because I was burned out.
Yeah.
I didn't
Right.
know what to feel. I didn't know what to think. So I needed to ground myself to feel again, so I could, move forward.
Yeah.
And that helped me in the first months. And I think that's also the reason my burnout didn't really took long. Within
That's
a year,
good.
I was already working.
Yeah.
But now I'm in a whole different point. What I just said, like, I've noticed I need to work on some other stuff. There are some deeper layers that are getting discovered now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a different kind of therapy is needed.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it a few weeks back. I really should get into it and start 2021 with a therapist
Yeah.
and one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So may I ask, and you don't have to share if you don't feel comfortable, but was there a problem that led either of you to go to a therapist, or was it like, no, it's healthy to do it, let me just do it anyway and see if it's for me? Was there a reason that led you to go there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, my situation sounds quite similar to Felicity's, which doesn't surprise me actually, just knowing how our lives have been. But yeah, I mean, I first went to a therapist when I was a little girl, maybe like 7, 8, when my parents split up. And so that was something we needed to look into.
How did you
and then
experience that, going to therapy as a kid? Because that's a conversation that I held the last months and really thought about.
Yeah, to be honest, I feel like looking back at baby Lily, I think I was like pretty emotionally distraught there were a lot of moving pieces in my life at that time. And I think I was just kind of checked out. I don't think I fully used the opportunity because I was like 8-year-old little girl. Like, and also, you know, I was having to deal with grown-up problems. That really was like my parents needed therapy, but I was sent, you know, so that's fine. But then in other phases of life, I've seen people also after that terrible relationship I was in, I was in therapy for like 1.5 years, like double down. I went to like domestic abuse counselor and a psychologist. And then later I had like also a life coach. So that was sort of like phases, like as I was kind of emerging from that traumatic experience. Yeah, because I was really worn down. But for me, it's sort of when I feel that I need it. And then a few years ago, gosh, when was it? 2017, my grandmother passed away. R.I.P. Grandma Kay. But I mean, she was almost 100. So she was,
bless her.
Yes, 99 and 8 months or something. But yeah, I mean, she was really like a parent to me. So losing her, and I had been with her in hospice, like it was heavy. And I was not okay. Like I could see it in myself. And listen, like everyone processes death differently. But I just knew like I'm not okay. I need help. I can feel it. Things are going bad. And it took me a while to find somebody over here to talk to. And that's actually something I think we should discuss, because finding a therapist is not easy. Just like finding friends. You don't mesh with everyone the same. You don't vibe the same always. So do you have any tips on that?
Well, you know, I think it depends. If you're looking for a therapist in the moment that you feel you really need it, that's a moment of distress. So I don't know for sure if that's the moment where you can you don't have the space to do research of what kind of therapy you need.
Yeah.
But I know in the Netherlands you could go to your doctor and they will give you how do you say it? Doorverwijzing.
Prescription.
Recommendation
Yeah.
to a therapist, and then you will have your introduction and they will see if you're a match, and if not, you can go on to something else and the therapist will recommend something.
Okay.
But I would say go to therapy or think about therapy whenever you feel you don't really need it.
Yeah.
That's something for me. I would love that on some point I would have therapy on a monthly or maybe bi-monthly basis where I can just talk and do my thing, because I want to be a step ahead of the moment that I feel really shitty.
Yeah.
Check in with yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's someone you have to really feel trust with. And I think the best advice I could give about finding someone to work with is to trust your gut, because if it doesn't feel right,
but
you need to be able to really open up with them.
Trusting your gut, that's not something everyone has developed.
No, it's not easy.
I would rather say know what you need.
Yeah.
Like really sit with yourself and write down like, okay, how do I feel?
Yeah, listen to yourself.
And like maybe on a piece of paper you just say, okay, I feel this and I feel that and I feel sus and I feel so. This is what I want to work on. This is what I want to see different.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it like that, you have a help question. And with that help question, you can go to your therapist. Okay, listen, this is the case.
Yeah.
And that's how you can find the right therapist.
Yeah, that's kind of what I did as well. I mean, the last time I was like consistently going to therapy was in 2017, 2018. I think I went probably once, twice a month for like a year and a half, because I think whenever you lose a loved one, especially a family member, a lot of other family stuff comes up. So I had looked for someone who specifically, I wanted it to be a woman because I just felt more comfortable that way. I wanted them to be a native English speaker because I wanted to not have things get lost in translation. So that already sort of narrowed the search down, being in Amsterdam. And I wanted someone who specifically dealt with family issues, because that's what I was going through, was a loss of a loved one, loss of a relative, and then all this other family stuff that came up with that. So once I kind of narrowed that search down, then I emailed a couple people, and turns out one was available. And when I met her, I had a good feeling, and I was like, you know what, I'm here. Let's do it.
Because we're talking about this so easily, and like, just go for it because that's our experience.
Yeah.
But I also know that there is, when I like gave over to the feeling, okay, I'm depressed, I need help, there still was a lot of shame. Like, I needed to tell my mom's from Suriname, that I needed to go to therapy. And I need to, like, that's something you talk about, that, I might want to go to therapy again. But there's still some shame. I think it's a cultural
stigma,
for
thing.
sure.
Yeah.
Especially in Black culture.
Yeah.
I think Black culture all over the world, I mean, this is not like a monolithic experience, right? But there's some kind of tie that it is like a shameful thing, or sort of looked down on, or like, don't tell people that.
So we have to keep that in mind. Like, we can give all the tips and share our experience, but I also know that even though I handled it really well and I just went for it, I also remember that I had this like shift, like, oh, but I have family, I need to tell, like aunties, like, oh, I heard you're in therapy. And, you know, that's, I remember you have this book, Queenie.
Oh,
where
yes.
The lead character, Queenie, she goes into therapy, but she's from a Jamaican family. And that was a thing, like, how is it possible one of our family members going to therapy? Like, it's losing your face.
Can't have something wrong with you. You have to be strong. You have to uphold it, keep it together.
The end, that was so beautiful in that story, that her grandpa was like, you know what, you're the first to go to college, you're the first to go to therapy, and look at you now. You're doing good. So it ended like they saw like, okay, this helps. And it all went better, but still, it was so relatable.
We should totally put a
book,
spoiler alert.
I haven't read it myself, so I need to borrow it.
I'll give it to you.
She needs it back.
But what else you got for us today, girl?
Okay. Well, I think the best option is that we share some of like the digital sources and kind of recommendations. Maybe we can just share those in the description for people. Because I found on Instagram, like a whole roundup of BIPOC therapy accounts. So they're not all people you can necessarily make an appointment with, but people who post helpful information and affirmations and advice. So, and there were probably like 20 people in that list. So I think
name a few.
I don't have to pull up my Instagram. I just saved it in our group
it up
chat.
in the description.
Yeah, because there were so many.
There were quite a few.
Yeah.
Well, I know that we asked our audience some questions as well about sources or apps that they use. And I was super surprised. I mean, we got a bunch. And like you said, we will share them in the description.
Yeah.
But a lot of them said YouTube. And
really?
I was so surprised. A lot of them said YouTube, and a lot said Instagram, which for me, Instagram is almost like a negative app. That's something I want to step away from. Yeah. But indeed, I do follow a lot of people that make me feel positive or give me good energy. So in a way, I was like, I'm surprised, but I'm not at the same time. But that YouTube was really a big surprise for me.
But on Instagram, like I said, like, the breathing app, I love it, and that really helps me be sane. But on Instagram, I follow like Africa Brooke. She's a coach, and she's amazing, and she shares so many tips and reminders really of how to be a bad bitch. I think that it comes down to that, like from a real intellectual way of like mental health. But like, yo, sis, listen. Keep your boundaries. I don't know what you're doing, but this ain't it. In that tone, and I love that because it's really real. But at the same time, I follow Instagram accounts that are not necessarily about mental health.
Yeah.
But do give me the energy to
Right.
get up and make something of my day and be the boss that I am.
Yeah, I have that with Tabitha Brown, who she posts about food, and she, became a vegan. I don't know how long ago, but just the way she speaks, and she's like, "Good morning, everybody."
Yeah,
and that's your
so
business.
sweetest like mom
She
energy.
is so sweet. Like when I just see her and her family, I instantly feel better, even if it's not about necessarily your mental health, which she does touch upon from time to time, but she just instantly makes you feel happier. And I love that account too.
So we could say for Instagram that even though everyone is talking about the mess that it brings, but if you choose
really
to
does.
follow wisely
and do a huge cleanup as well, because I clean out the things that make me feel negative or make me feel bad about myself or doubtful or just I don't vibe with their energy. I remove you. The people that I follow are only people that bring some added value, whether it is positivity, whether of course it's your friends, whether it is inspirational. Just keep things in your feed that you want to absorb and soak in and elevate you.
Yeah, exactly. One person on Instagram that I really like is this author Glennon Doyle. Have you guys heard of her? She wrote this book Untamed, and I know I was like going off about this book a few months ago. If you haven't read it, highly recommend it. It's a memoir, but it's also like a manifesto just about tapping into that like fearless little girl that's inside of us and how, over time and society and patriarchy wears it all down. So that if you check her account, she's always posting like really positive stuff and quotes from the book, and she does a lot of like IG lives also with her wife, and they're like bringing their family into it. It's
Love it.
It's good people over there. And one of the last things I wanted to, as we kind of round up our conversation, is to talk about our soulful connections. And I remember you mentioned like you take your Sunday nights and that's your thing. Do you want to share a little bit more about that, or like a ritual that you like to do?
Yes, of course. For me, the thing is, it's a combination of millennial Felicity and the cultural ways my mom taught me. So, I'm from Suriname, and we have it's all over the world. Like you have your incense in your Florida water, the white candle that you burn, the glass of water that you set next beside it. You do the same.
My mom does that. Really? And she keeps on telling me to do that. And I'm like, what does that water do? But okay.
Yeah, I do the same because I don't even know what the real reason behind it is, but it feels like it's cleansing.
Right.
Water is cleansing, right?
I think my mom told me something like, so there's a constant flow around you or something like that. Like maybe like cleansing and flow together.
My mom is Black Surinamese. So everything that she's learned about spirituality, it comes from her ancestors, which were enslaved, which directly leads back to Africa. So all of these,
where I'm from.
So this is so funny. It's all tied. It's all connected. It's all connected. It's amazing. Oh, that's so beautiful.
I love it. When we were at the cleansing ritual from Black Pride, I think the girls who were leading it, it was more like a Curacao type of experience, and you were saying it's quite similar as well.
But it's all like I think it all ties in together. Everyone has their own twist to it, but it all ties in together.
Because my stepdad does similar things as well, and he's Mexican. But he's always got the candles and the
I think that
incense
region of the world, because of slavery, it's all it's the
it's
same basics
for sure.
But to come back to your question, I use that because you know what, with spirituality, it needs to be for you. I have my crystals, which I reload and put in the moon, and I wear them on me. But I also have my Florida water. You know, it's a mix of honoring my ancestors, but in the 2020 world.
Yeah, I'm with you. I've kind of being like mixed on mixed, I've kind of picked and chosen all different things, but
and
it's
how I
really
use
similar to what y'all are saying. So.
And how I use it, really, I choose a moment of stillness. It's just I prefer Sunday night, and there's no particular reason. That's just the day in the week that I'm calm the most. I normally don't work on that day, I don't have kids on that day most of the time. So I have my incense, I sage my house.
Yes.
Yeah.
I burn a candle, I'll put on some music and just vibe and reload my own and feel me. Feel my own energy. I walk barefoot in my home always. I don't really like shoes. So I feel grounded, and then sometimes I journal, write down what I feel, what I'm working on, what I'm struggling with. But sometimes I don't, and I just smoke a little some.
That's
and
all right
chill
too.
with my incense and my candles.
That's its own form of therapy, because sometimes, whatever you use to relax, and maybe that's yoga, but sometimes getting that sort of barrier down, you can really tap into it. And sometimes I'll do that. For me, it's journaling. I mean, as a writer, that kind of makes sense, right? I've always kept journals, and I try to do, especially when things are hard, like a gratitude journal, where I have little prompts as well. I have like a mindfulness book that gives you prompts that you can think about when you don't have something necessarily. But I really feel it sometimes, like I can just tell in my spirit, like I've got to quiet things down, airplane mode, and just put on the candles and sit and write.
But have you noticed, I think that's so funny, because I'm not really the type, I know all of this, and I'm not really the type to really take the time for it and schedule the time. So I do this weekly or a few days a week.
Yeah.
But when I do it, I am so recharged.
Yeah.
In that moment, I'm like, you know what? I can handle it all, and I'm like ready for the week. Maybe that's why I'm doing it on a Sunday most of the time.
Kicking off a new week.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And for me also, like when I notice that I'm
are gone.
it's cleansing. When I notice that I'm really anxious or I can't sleep, like we've talked, sometimes I'm waking up at like 4 a.m, and those are the moments where I'm like, you just need to sit down and journal, and then I'll do a prompt, and then I realize like, okay, I worked something out in my head, and then I can kind of mellow out and
9
chill
times
again.
out of 10, it's like
turn the page.
I realize, it's not that deep.
Yeah.
I'm worrying for what exactly?
Sometimes that's your realization as well.
Yeah. And so I think that's a good point to maybe transition into some of what our audience told us, because we had some feedback from them. We did a IG survey the other day just to kind of get some information. And well, it looks like we had asked, what's been your go-to personal therapy to cope during difficult times? And the most popular suggestions were a creative outlet. That was the majority of what people answered. So
that
like
could be
art,
dance,
music, dance, which is a lot of what you had mentioned. And I mean, dance also ties in, it's that exercise, like moving your body, feeling a connection to your body, and also releasing something, releasing your stress.
When I first started therapy, she said, okay, when you feel anxious, somewhere in your body, there is a tingle. Go to that tingle and move. Even if it's the littlest energy form in your little toe, move, do something. And it worked. She was so right. Just move. Even if you're feeling bad or don't want to do nothing, there's always something in your body that's like, okay, wake up.
Yeah.
And tune into it and just move. I love the movement classes from Tanisha.
I'm still trying to
Shout
go to
out
one of
Tanisha,
those.
the multifaceted woman on Instagram.
Follow
she
her.
also was a workshop host during our events for House 112.
Yeah,
She's
and in her
amazing.
season 1.
Yeah.
She was there in season 1.
Yeah.
Love that girl.
I went
Follow
to her
for sure.
movement class, and it was all about you. Even though it's a class, I was there for me, and that was the whole energy. And she guided us through, because we all have our different reasons why we want to move. We set our intentions at the beginning of the class, and she just helps us get into the flow.
The way she does it is so peaceful as well, and so
Yeah. beautiful.
It's truly a great
And
experience.
for me, it helped me to feel grounded in my own energy again.
Yeah.
And that is what gives me a lot of hype. Like, you know what? You're this bad bitch. You can do anything
Hell
in the
yeah.
world. And I was tired, but I feel so calm.
Yeah.
And then the next day I was like, yes, let's get it. Because I moved. It does something to you.
Yeah, for sure. And Tanisha also posts some really nice journal prompts. There was a class she did, and she tied that in with it.
Yeah.
And I'm dying to go to one of her classes. I haven't yet, but I really want to.
It's
and
really good.
I did do some of her journal prompts because I was like, oh, I'm really into these.
She does that with the classes. So in a month, there's a theme of the month, and then you do a journal. We all brought our notebooks.
Yeah.
You write things down, and it's personal. It's not something that we share with the group.
Yeah.
It's not necessary. You can do it if you like.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So also from this survey, I think this is really interesting because one of the questions was, have you ever struggled with anxiety or depression? And 80% of our House of Notor audience said yes. But then when we asked, do you go to therapy? 70% said no.
I was surprised by that.
That really surprises me. So I almost want to follow up. Maybe y'all can leave some comments below or hit us up on Instagram because I want to know why that is. And I want to also know, are y'all okay?
For sure.
I know the days I'm not okay.
That's the number
but-
one question. But I just think it's a hurdle for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's something that you really need to take the step to go to therapy. It's not like, oh, I'm just going to go to therapy. Like you said, you have a certain idea of what you're looking for in a therapist as well. So there's so many layers that come to it before you actually go and find the right match for you or even take the step to find a therapist at all.
Yeah, that was a big takeaway.
But I also think it's based on the shame that's involved in it.
Culturally.
Money. A lot of people
Also.
maybe don't have the insurance to cover for therapy. So that's a thing. And yeah, it's not that easy, especially when you're already dealing with depression or anxiety.
Yeah.
To take a step, like even doing your dishes or your laundry is already
Devastating
the biggest task
sometimes.
of the world. Imagine looking up a therapist.
Yeah,
because it's confronting. So I get it, but it's not. We should do something like as a world. We should do something about it, and think making therapy more approachable.
Yeah, and I think we are doing that. I mean, we also had an episode in season 1 where we talked about mental health. We talked about mindfulness and creativity.
Yeah, a lot of people are talking about
I think
it, so that helps.
we're trying to put it out there, and I think that's actually another great transition moment.
Oh my gosh, you're just full of great
because something to share with us. The honey hype of the week.
I do. I mean, I was thinking about the honey hype and how funny it is to tie it back to what we said earlier. My honey hype is Aisha Carrington, and she's an Instagram friend that I met.
Oh, yeah.
That I met in real life by
Yes.
now. I love her. Shout out Aisha. But Aisha and I connected, I think it has been a year and a half ago because we're both retreat organizers. So she also organizes retreats called Get Lit Retreats, and they're amazing as well. And we just vibed off of each other and we decided to meet up in London. And the first time I met her, I went to her guided meditation class at a studio in London. That was the first time I ever met her. And her soul, her spirit is just so beautiful. It's very healing. And why she is my honey hype, besides her amazing energy, is that she brings meditation and mindfulness and peace and inner peace to a very frequently used space, which is social media. Instagram. She does sound baths on Instagram.
I love the sound baths.
They're so beautiful. They're always a minute. She shares them almost every morning, I believe.
But what is a sound bath? Exactly?
It's those crystal bowls.
Oh, it's with the singing bowls.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that was
What
my.
she did.
I love that. Yeah.
And she just looks so cute. But what she also does is she dances to music. Usually it's hip hop. She's a huge hip hop head like I am. And she's just like rapping and dancing to it and like shaking her bum with her daughter, who is 14 now, I believe. They're both so cute. And she just brings positivity and mindfulness to Instagram on a daily basis. And
I love that.
she's just an amazing person to follow. And on top of that, she also has her online store where she sells her crystals, but she also made her Get Lit cards, which are affirmation cards. And they're with an illustration of, again, probably hip hop artists, or Bob Marley's in there as well, with something like a prompt or an affirmation for the day. And I mean, all round amazing person and great energy. So I highly recommend to, follow Aisha if you want some good vibrations in a timeline.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Thank you for this honey hype.
Yeah, I love her
it.
account. Yeah, that's great. And I think that pretty much wraps it up. Do you guys have
that's
another takeaway you want to share or anything else to put out there?
Just remember, you are allowed to take some time off.
For sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just listen to yourself, listen to your body, listen to your mind. Be kind to yourself. Just as you want to be kind to others, also be kind to yourself. And try and live your best life. And if you're not okay, that's okay too.
Yeah, for sure. I had a really good one that I found on Instagram. Is it now I'm getting brain dead. Like, is it an anagram? Where like the words spell. Anyway, okay, well, I'm going to share it with y'all.
Just say yes.
To wrap it up. And I found this on the Instagram account, My Brown Box. And they said, always remember the word restore. And so I'll tell you what they say. They say, R is for rejuvenate your body, spirit, and soul. Elevate your self-care. Soak in your blessings. Tap into your happiness. Open your mind. Replenish your goals. And eliminate what doesn't serve you. And I feel like we've touched on every single point in that. So
That
I
gave
think
me
that's a
goosebumps.
perfect, right?
Yeah.
I saved it to my
nice.
phone and I've checked back to it a few times. So I think that is just the perfect way to round up our conversation. And I want to say thank you, girls, for sharing so much with me and creating such a
Thank you.
friendly, and I feel like we can't hug, but I have such good hug vibes from y'all. And I think what we want to say to y'all is don't forget to love yourself.
Exactly.
Right?
And
And
if you
like
ever
and
want to
subscribe.
talk,
Yeah.
like and subscribe. And if you ever want to talk, we're here for you, honeys.
Yeah, slide
Yeah,
into
we
House
are,
and Noir
definitely.
DMs. We'll send you some links. Yeah, we'll put some stuff in the descriptions below.
I like it. See you
So,
next
yeah,
episode.
See you next time. Bye.